The top 5 for the week.
1.
Ghostbusters. So, almost as soon as we got done filming last week, they announced that Sony had been doing a sequel.
He's got them in a different list because you did number wrong.
Oh, I just listed them from top to bottom from our list on the wall over there.
Sorry. I'll share with you.
Okay.
So anyway, my bad. So yeah, Ghostbusters. So almost as soon as we got done filming last week, Sony and the son of the original director of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, Ivan Reitman, announced that they had been working on a secret Ghostbusters movie, and everybody flipped their collective wigs. And so everybody's like, oh wow, cool, we're getting a Ghostbusters movie that is an actual sequel, which would technically be Ghostbusters 3. And so everybody got excited. And then the very next day, they released a teaser and a poster. So it was a lot further on than everybody had imagined. And it was just, the teaser was amazing.
It was really good.
Yeah, it did just enough to get you excited about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Showed the original Ecto 1. It was super awesome. So then everybody's just like, what is going on? And then details started to leak about it here and there. And it turns out, like almost a year ago or something, Dan Aykroyd was in an interview with Dan Rather and straight out told him, we're working on another Ghostbusters movie and we're putting some stuff together. But I guess everybody may have heard it and just assumed that it was a sequel to the last Ghostbusters movie and not a part 3 type deal. So I don't know. So the big deal about that is Leslie Jones, who was in the last movie, the last Ghostbusters movie, the lady from SNL, got all up in arms about it on Twitter and very ticked off, which, I mean, she's got a right to be ticked off because the reboot they made is getting buried, basically. We're not necessarily buried. I mean, it's still out there.
Overlooked.
Yeah, it's being leapfrogged, and they're not moving forward with it at this point. So her complaint, she said that it sounds like something Trump would do, to just bring the dudes back and say, like, her concern is that that the narrative that men matter and women don't would be progressed by this. And so that was her complaint. And I mean, that's a legitimate complaint, except when you look into the facts that the movie bombed and
it didn't bomb because it was women. It bombed because they had complete disregard for the movies and what came before.
Yeah. And it would have been so easy to make it a natural sequel.
Yeah. Like you
in
literally
the same universe
had the
and
people.
Yeah.
Almost everyone was in it.
Just had to say we're related somehow or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could have literally been what, like, what's leaking about this new Ghostbusters is that it's like a next generation of Ghostbusters and stuff like that, and that it's like either a boy and a girl or 2 girls and 2 boys
Very
that are teenagers.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and like there's going to be like an old mentor. So we're not sure if it's going to be Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray or even. Dang, I went blank on his name again. Winston.
Yeah, I don't
remember.
Oh, man.
We looked it up beforehand. We just looked. Ernie Hudson.
Ernie
Hudson. Ernie Hudson.
Earl. It was an old name, but
yeah. So we're not sure which Ghostbuster that's going to be. If I assume all 3 of them are going to, or all 3 remaining Ghostbusters are going to cameo in it, just like the last movie. Only they'll be playing their original characters.
That's our hope.
Yeah, the last movie was confusing, but now that there's been some time since it came out and the controversies, well, before all this, it had died down. It's easier to look at it as just like it on its own, you know. And on its own, it was a funny movie. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But it was hard to look past how they had basically just thrown a big FU up to the original fans. and said, hey, screw you, we're going to do our own thing using the thing you love. You know, it's like a backhanded compliment. It was like it. And everybody was like, no, we don't like it. And they're like, why don't you like it?
It's because we're all women.
Awesome. Yeah. Literally they created controversy. And not only that, it went way over budget for a dance sequence that didn't even appear in the movie. So it had some big trouble with the studio and everything. Like it just had a lot of trouble. And on top of pissing off the fans. So now that they're trying to be enraged about the new Ghostbusters, it's kind of like a non-starter. It's like, well, you don't really have a right to be upset, even though some of the points you make in a normal situation would be a good point, but they don't really apply to this.
Like, they could be valid, but they're not.
Yeah, exactly. And even the director, Paul Feige, I don't know how to say his last name. I don't think it's Feige, like Kevin Feige. But anyways, it's basically Feige with no E. But anyways, he wrote and directed it, I think, and he came out in support of Leslie Jones, and and he was the one saying from the beginning that the whole reason the thing bombed was because of toxic fandom. And everybody being anti-women and all this stuff, and it's
not anti-women. I loved every woman that was in the movie.
Oh my gosh, quality, quality actresses. They were amazing. Their chemistry together is alone one of the best things you could ever see.
Yeah, it was a really good movie if you can look past the slap in the face to the original fans.
Like, to have characters that are from the original series and not even tip your hat to what they are. I mean, like, you had actors.
Yeah, all the surviving
in it.
Yeah, all the surviving main people except for Rick Moranis appeared in it, but they didn't play themselves. So, like, on first watch, it was kind of confusing, and then it just kind of it literally took went one crazy
line.
Too.
Just like in Thank You for Smoking. Like, it takes one line to make it connect, to make it work, and you didn't do it. You just just didn't.
Yeah, it would have been so easy.
We were upset.
Yeah, it would have been too easy to make it a continuing, but they just decided not to.
Yeah. But Alone, it is one of my favorite movies, up there with Bridesmaids. Like, it is so funny.
Yeah, and dang it, Thor. I can't remember his names today. Chris Hemsworth was hilarious.
Yeah,
it's probably really like his funniest role he's ever done. Even including Thor Ragnarok. So all this is going on, and the leaks, and it doesn't look like Leslie Jones was informed, or even, I don't know if the director cared or not. I don't really trust his opinion after all the stunts he pulled trying to garner outrage over something that was his fault. So I don't really want to listen to what he had to say, but Leslie Jones doesn't look like she was necessarily informed that it wasn't just going to be going back to the old white men type thing or whatever, just men. All men team is better than a women's team. It's not like that. They're basically doing half and half. So, and with this being an actual sequel, it's basically Sony going basically just apologizing and giving the fans what they wanted originally. But with it being Ghostbusters, I don't understand how they couldn't merge the two universes and make them one. Just do like a interdimensional crossover type thing where something big paranormal happens and the universes collide and they become one and they have to deal with that. And now
or even like you could still right the wrong that you did with the all-female Ghostbusters, and you could go and say that something happened and all of those people's memory was wiped. And I mean, like, there's so many possibilities.
It's Ghostbusters. You could do anything.
Do whatever you wanted to make it all connect, and we would love it.
Yeah,
like it would reconnect it all, and we'd be fine.
Mm-hmm. And there would be some people complain, oh, the women, blah, blah. Those people don't matter anyways.
Yeah, those people are literally stupid.
So yeah, you cannot make something like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, a lot of people do this. But I think Hollywood is learning. You cannot say, oh, you know what? There's enough of a fan base to garner a remake of something, but we're going to ignore the fan base to make the remake. So it's like it's a catch-22. You can't have both. It's like, why would you be remaking it without the fan base in the first place?
And that's the thing. We don't want remakes. Everyone thinks that we do. We want something that's just as quality as what used to be put out, that has that nostalgic feeling, just like Stranger Things did. That is a completely new idea that we are homage all to the old. Loving, because it's nostalgic. It kind of brings back that feeling, and it's good, but it's not something we've already seen that we loved already.
Yeah.
Because you're asking us to change our love for what we already love.
Yeah. And to be fair...
Well, at the same time, they want to make money.
Yeah.
And like that, and that's partly why some movies are the way they are. They're just not necessarily just cash grabs. They're like, we can redo it and build on top of that, but let's make a good smooth 100 mil first.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Which is not for the fans.
Yeah.
Because we don't get any percentage of that.
Yeah. To be fair, things like Stranger Things are like, there's a lot of callbacks, which is the nostalgia thing, but like completely original tentpole pictures would be great, but there's so much risk involved nowadays that like back in the day, the studio system was completely different in the 80s, where the studios sometimes were forced to make a picture for a star who had a pet project or something like that. Because of the deals and the agents and all kinds of things like that. But it's a completely different environment now, where if a studio head has a bomb, like that's their job, one bomb, and that's it. They're done. So people don't take risks like they used to, and that's why there's a lot more indie films and stuff like that. But as far as like big budget stuff, it seems like everything is like a regurgitation of something we loved 20 years ago. So, I mean, I get the environment, but at the same time, it's like there's not going to be any more new material if you just keep ravaging the old material, you know?
Yeah. Like that burns out quick. You're not building anything.
Some stuff, though, it works with, like with It coming out, like how
the 20 year, yeah.
Like that, if they make another one by the time my son's my age and it comes out, it'll be the It for his generation.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's a legitimate reason, as in, you know, like, oh, we could make it look so much better or whatever. Like, if there's a legitimate reason, then yeah, but don't just do it just for that sake. Like, some movies are untouchable, and even though they were done badly, that's the charm of it. You know, like was it Trouble in Little Tokyo or something like that? That one, it's like, don't touch that movie. It's like, don't remake that movie. Don't do that.
I felt that way about Jumanji. Like, you can't take such a quality actor like Robin Williams, who has passed on, and then decide to completely crap on everything he loved. And like, that's what you did with Jumanji. Well, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
That's what we thought was going to happen, and it turned out to be a respectful homage.
Really?
Yeah, because they hat tipped to the old one, remember?
Yeah, I mean,
and
they hat tipped, but they...
I felt like it was respectful.
It was decent. I wouldn't say that it was great.
I mean, they were trying to show that this Jumanji's an evolution. That's why, you know, they didn't want to play the board game and trade.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they completely explained like how it jumped from board game to video game. But anyways,
we just do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it did suck them into a board game and a video game. But let's talk about how it transformed.
I need reality in my fantasy. Anyways.